So today's first application is the industrial manufacturing category. And as usual, I will usually throw up a slide here of the types of scanners that could be used for this type of part. So this one right here, actually, you'll see here in a second, is a medium-ish size part, I guess. Um, and this one here is industrial manufacturing, so as-built modeling of a very complicated pipe here. So you can see there that on the top left we have a scan and a very elaborate like duct work of a pipe here, and then you see a very elaborate model to create that with all kinds of fixturing and standoffs and mounts on it. So this one is just an industrial manufacturing, and you can imagine how difficult it would be to create something like this without scan data, without a scanner, and 3D software, the amount of time it would take to recreate this with other means. So with that, we'll go ahead and switch over to Design X. So here we go. We have Design X. If we rotate this around, this is beautiful scan data. And we'll go ahead and start. I'll turn off the scan data and turn on the CAD. So here's the end result. And you see here that I have multiple solids right away. You can see that we have modeled the brackets that hold it on. Multiple brackets there. So that's one, that's the other one. And then here's the pipe. If I can just get my clicking straight. So there is the pipe. So let's go ahead and roll back and see how the approach was taken here. So as you can see, we have multiple meshes at the beginning. So we'll just turn that off and just see here. This happens sometimes on a project. A lot of times I will separate a mesh out. So that's the first thing that happened here before you get to the region grouping. And I don't have to roll back to show that part of it, but we went ahead and copy and pasted the mesh. So you see here, here's the original. And then we went ahead and removed all the extra stuff. Now you don't have to do it this way. I mean, you really can still model it without doing it this way. But this does help quite a bit here. And you'll see why in a second, where you can just remove, or another thing that you can do that I've seen and it all depends on the specific application that you're working with and the specific project. You could scan the pipe without the brackets on it if that's even possible. On this one, I don't think it's possible, right? Because those brackets look like they were formed on it. So, but I have done projects. Actually, one of the applications in here may be able to be done that way too. One of the other ones that I'm going to cover, where I actually will scan the whole assembly and then take it apart and scan all the pieces and then virtually assemble it all back together in the software. And then you have basically a virtual scanned assembly that then you can reverse engineer the part as an assembly if that's what you need. So in this case, what we did is we kind of did that manually by scanning everything we could and then take all the outer pieces off, do some hole filling, and create a nice centerline pipe. And that's the next step here is we have a tool called Fit Polyline. And you see here, if I just toggle that back on, you can select this entire thing. I'll just do it real quick. Window in, select a whole thing. And under our reference geometry, we have this idea of a polyline, just like CAD does, but we can extract a polyline from all kinds of different avenues here. So intersection, silhouette, from a sweep, from a pipe, a bead line. So what we're doing here is we went ahead and said, I want to extract the center line from a sweep. And then if I just click that, all it's going to do is do the same thing that we already have here. And you'll see if I turn off the mesh, there is a center line that we calculate. Now, if there's a little bit of noise, or this specific part, you'll notice, is got various radii, and it's not even completely round all the way through. So it's going to find the center all the way through and create a polyline. Now that polyline is really just a stepping stone for this. If I roll forward, so I went ahead and just roll forward, and you see that if I turn the polyline off and I turn the 3D sketches on, and then we can hide the mesh, we then drew a center line over top of that polyline. And some of our wizards do this automatically. I just think it's helpful a lot of times to show people the manual method first to understand what it is that the wizard is doing, because we do have a pipe wizard and a sweep wizard that will do this sort of thing for you. But it helps to know how to do it manually so you can appreciate what it's actually doing for you, right? So we can then come back and just draw a 3D sketch that follows the 3D polyline right there and make it exactly what you want it to be. And then you'll see here we have a bunch of cross-section sketches. So we'll just go roll forward and a loft. So those cross-section sketches, those can easily be created as well. And I'll just show you how those were created real quickly. So if I turn the surface off, you can select this and you can say, I want to create planes, and I want to create planes at end division, and you can say how many you want. And you see here, many CAD packages have this type of functionality, right? And you can create planes uniform or offset, or just manually create them wherever you need them to be normal to that polyline, which is super helpful for this tool because you're able to just slap tons of planes on it, and then from there you're able to then go in and sketch on them. So here, just a minute, we'll just discard that, and you'll see here, I'll just open one of the sketches to see what you would see if you went into one of the cross sections here. Let's do one of the ones at the other end, closer to the other end. And then we'll just hit edit, normal 2. And you'll see here, there is the cross section. And then because this is a very organic shape, right, you're basically coming in here and saying, I want to fit a spline to this. And boom, you fit a spline. And you see, we fit a very elaborate spline. And here's another piece of functionality that I'll highlight while we're in here, is the spline nodes. You'll see that it has 200 nodes. So you can click on that and you can say, I want to do like 50 and then reduce it down. So anybody who's done a lot of lofting knows that if we're going to loft these profiles together, and this one has 10 nodes and that one has 200 and this, you're going to create this really crazy looking wrinkly loft or sweep if you have these profiles that are crazy here. So in this instance, we are going to be doing a loft between all these because they are different profiles all the way, by the way, just in case I misspoke earlier, you know. So there we go. We created a surface loft all the way down. So what they did from there is they went ahead and they did a fill face on each side. So then that inherently creates a solid. So now we have this really cool solid. And then from here, we'll just keep stepping forward and looking here. So we created a surface cylinder. And we'll just come over here and turn on the surface. There we go. Oh, so we're going to go in there and we're going to cut that piece away, if you remember. And then fillet that. And then we'll go go ahead and hide that. And then we went ahead and created a region group on another separate mesh here. So that's what's going on here. Now when we step forward, it's a region group on the other piece, right? So one of these other pieces, we'll hide the solid for a second. Turn the meshes on. And they created a region group on a separate object. So on the separate mesh object, right? So now we're just going to step forward, going to do a move face. We'll just hide that. And if you're ever unsure of like where something occurred here, so on the ends they did a move face here on the end. But if you ever unsure where that is, you can kind of come over here and say edit. And then you can see, oh, we did a move face here on this side. We did a face moved in that direction, right? So you can kind of see that they wanted to move that, bump that out according to the normal of that face there. And then we did a hollow. And we'll just keep stepping forward here. So we went ahead and created the end, the barb on the end here. So we created a sketch. If I click on it there, you'll see that they created a revolve. And then looks like we did a bunch of blends there. And then you'll see that we have another one on this side. There we go. A bunch of blends. Now let's see where we go here next. Oh, we did a revolve cut away from there. That's what we did here. And then some fillets. Now let's see where this surface offset is. So yeah, it looks to me like what's going to be happening here, just based on how I would model this, is a surface offset. This probably is a surface offset 0, which in our software, it's kind of a trick. Yep. In order to like snag a surface from a solid really quick and easy, you can click on the face and then you can say, I want to do a surface offset, set it to 0. And it's kind of like making a duplicate face command or a copy face. So we use that all the time. That's actually a really good little tip there for anybody out there that's done a lot of modeling in Design X, that you can do this surface offset 0 to copy a face from a solid. There probably are other creative ways of doing it as well, but that's an important thing here to just pick up. That's a nice little tip or trick here that we're kind of learning on the fly here. That's nice. So then we did an extend, and if you're ever unsure where the extend was, again, we can just go ahead and edit it and just see where the extend was. It was here. So they're just extending that in a little bit. And we'll just keep on going. And they're going to use this as a tool to build on top of, right? So there we go. So they're going to, we extracted this and that and trimmed it up. And now let's turn on the mesh so I can see where we're at here. So now as you look at it, you can look at this area and it's all one extrude cut away, right? And there's a variety of ways of working with this here. One thing that you can do, I will say, is in your reference geometry under vector, you can select geometry. So you can select the edge of this all the way around, and you can come over here and say, I want to extract the extrusion axis. So if you select a bunch of geometry, it will try to find that profile, that silhouette profile of it, and give you that axis, and then you can put a plane on it, and then from there you can create a point in a plane and create a extrusion direction like this and draw that using a silhouette. Actually, that's a really important thing too. is we will discard and just click on this and go into the sketch that created it and go normal to. So when you set up this sketch, turn off surfaces instead. Turn it all off. There we go. So in this instance, the person actually just drew it manually, I'm seeing. But you can actually, if you wanted to, you could silhouette just that edge region all the way around, and if you wanted to. But this person did a great job, by the way, anyway, so it doesn't matter. But you could silhouette that and then draw this over top of it. That's what I was going to show, but since they didn't have it in here, so a bunch of different ways of modeling it, right? And sometimes it's like unnecessarily. I can see what it is. I don't need to silhouette something that's flat in order to figure out what it is. And we'll turn the mesh off just so you can see. So we trimmed those things away. We did surface trims to create that shape. And we'll go forward here. We did that over here now. And we'll hide this guy. We don't need it. So I'm just going to toggle those to see. So you can draw right on the surface here, by the way. I think that's what they did with this 3D sketch. So let's come in. And you see here that you can draw directly on. And I'll just create one so you can see what I'm talking about. If I get out of that sketch, you could use that to trim. So if I want to come over here and say 3D mesh sketch, curve, and I can come right in and like so. All the way around. And then what they're going to do, as you can see here, is once you draw that on there, you can do a trim with a curve on the surface there. So that's what they did. So we'll just get out of that and go forward. Now they've trimmed those two surfaces to be what we want them to be. So we're going to go ahead and thicken them one at a time. And because we thicken them, they're now solids. There we go. And we'll just extrude. The rest of the stuff is pretty much just basic extrusions and trimming, right? So we'll do another surface offset of this guy to trim the inside of that. That's probably what that is right there, right? So they did a surface offset 0 probably, yep, of the entire loft pipe, and then you're going to use that to trim this away. So if I, just to prove that here, we'll turn off this guy. Yep. So from here, it's pretty self-explanatory, basic stuff. Just adding all the brackets and trimming them from the different directions and stuff. Really cool. So skip forward a few. But again, the power of being able to come in and roll back through the history. This is one instance where the history is just so nice because, I mean, we're able to learn how to model this pipe, how this project was done by just rolling through the history of what somebody did earlier and the approach that they took. Okay, so we got a couple drafts there. Yep. On this guy. And then we'll do a couple cuts. So we trim the inside. And just to turn the scan data on so you see where we're at again. Some blends through all the way through there. Bunch of different blends. So from here, We'll just take a look at this real quick and see. Oh yeah, we got this long piece. So that had some crazy geometry there. It wasn't like just super basic. You see that? Sometimes you don't notice that stuff when you first look at a project. You're like, oh man, this thing like twists around. So they went ahead and extruded this because that was one straight extrusion. They fit a surface there and then extended it all out. And now we're just going to trim everything back from all the different directions and boolean it in. So we're just going to trim all the pieces off with all the surfaces and stuff, even on the back, and trim it all in. So from here, I think the rest of it is kind of self-explanatory for this one. And we can jump over to our PowerPoint here for a second, and I'll just go to the end. And there we go. So there's our complete pipe model. Turn that off and turn this on. Really cool application of industrial pipe.